Hello everyone, from this video we are going to start learning Alpine JS. So Alpine JS actually works on a component basis. That means in order to work with Alpine we need to declare any kind of HTML element as an Alpine component first. This Alpine component starts with a X data. So if we apply the X data on any type of HTML element, it will be considered as an Alpine component. So let's see with a practical example. So let's say we are going to use a div and we are going to make this div a Alpine component. How we can do that? Well, this is very easy. We are going to use an X-data, and this is kind of a JavaScript object. So in JavaScript, the object will be inside a curly braces. So let's put the curly braces, and inside it we can put whatever we want. Let's say we want a variable and we want to put some value in it. We can do that. So let's name it message maybe, and we are going to put some string value. So let's put a colon, and the string is kind of a text. Any kind of text is considered as a string in JavaScript. We can also put numbers like this, that is called an integer in JavaScript. Also boolean like true and false. But in case of string, the strings are always quoted with quotation mark. It can be either double quote, single quote, but we have already used a double quote, so I'm just going to use the single quote in here. Let's type out a string, just some random text. Alpine JS is awesome. Now this div here is an Alpine component, and we can use our Alpine functionalities inside of this div. So let's use a paragraph tag here, and let's use xtext. Xtext is also an Alpine directive. We can put any value dynamically with the xtext. We are going to talk about the xtext in details later on. So if we just put the variable name in here, it is going to display the xtext, and as you can see in the browser, it has been displayed. So now this div is an Alpine component, and we can use our Alpine functionalities like this xtext inside that component. Also, as I said before, we can make any kind of HTML element an Alpine component. So we have used div here, but not only div, we can use any kind of other tags like paragraph tag, ace tag, like header tags, ace-on to ace6. So let's use an ace-on tag here, and let's create this an Alpine component. And how we can do that? By using X-data. So let's create a variable, and we can give it whatever name you want. Let's say ace text, and we can also display it by using the xtext directive. Ace text, let's save. We also need to give it a value, otherwise it is totally empty. Let's say this is our heading, because in HTML the ace-on tags used for heading. Now it got this bold because of the ace-on tag, so it also works. But one thing I need to mention is that Alpine is case sensitive. That means if we use ace text here like in lowercase, and we use this like here in the xtext, it is not going to show. So in order to do that, we need these two be the same. So Alpine is the case sensitive language, so we need to keep that in our mind. In these examples, we have only included only one variable, but we can actually add multiple types of datas and multiple variables inside the X-data. Let's do that. Inside the div, let's declare it as an Alpine component by using the X-data, and I'll just keep a gap in here so that we can see it properly. Let's say we want multiple variables in here, like name. Let's say name is John, then another variable, we just need to put a comma in here. Then let's say email john@gmail.com. we need to put this inside a quotation because this is kind of a string. Let's put a number in here, like number, and give it a value as a number, like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, like that. Now if you want to display all of this, we can do that. Let's use an unordered list in here, and li list items, and we can actually use the same thing, the x text in here. So x text will be like name. I'm just going to copy this a few more time and change the name of the x text. Now if we save this, we can see the list item and it is going to show multiple elements. Also sometimes there will be lots of information in here, like lots of variables names, then there can be method getters. So in that case, we can actually export this from elsewhere, like a JavaScript file. So let's also try that. We are going to do the same thing with the same example. Let's just copy this and paste it inside here. Okay, fine. Now we don't want this here, so I'm just going to cut it, and before finishing up the body tag, let's add a script tag and put our values and everything object in here. So how we can do that? So we are going to create a function in here, then we are going to move that function as a data in here. Okay, so let's create a function. Let's name it maybe user details. Inside it, we are just going to return the data, right? So it will be returned. We are not going to output it or anything. We are just going to return it as a data. So I'll just paste it in here, but it got okay. I think now we are good. Now how we are going to do this? Well, this function here will return every data in here, right? So we are just going to paste the name of the function in here, but one thing we need to mention is that this is not an object right now, because this function here is going to return an object of values, right? So we don't need to use any curly braces in here. We are just going to put the function name, and if we save, it is still going to work. Now let's talk about the scope of the Alpine data. So let's say let's use this example for now. I'm just going to copy this and use it here. So inside this div, we got the paragraph tag with the x text of message, which is included inside the Alpine data or x data in here. Now it is going to show up. But let's say we put the paragraph tag outside the div tag. Now if we save it, nothing is going to show up, because the scope of this Alpine component is just inside this HTML element, which is this div. Outside of this div, the Alpine won't work. So this is the component, and this component only got access to the x data. So if we try anything else outside of this div or this component, it is not going to get the value from here. So you need to keep it in mind when you're just creating projects or anything. It can be a little bit confusing sometimes. It doesn't work outside, but what about inside of the element? Let's say we got multiple components nested inside another component. What will happen then? Well, let's see. So let's say we got a div as an Alpine component like x data, and a message inside of it. Let's say Alpine JS is very cool. Okay, now let's say inside of this component we got another component. Let's change it to let's change the variable name to something like message2. Alpine JS is very easy to learn, and let's nest another component inside of it, maybe message3. I'm just going to put awesome again. Okay, fine. Now let's use the paragraph tag in here and use the X text. Now we are actually going to try these three, and what do you think? Well, the answer is every one of them will work, because as long as this paragraph tag is inside of an element, doesn't matter how long nested this is, but this will have access to each of the components. Like we can use the message in here. Let's save, and this is going to output the first one, which is the message. We can also use the message2, and this is going to output this one. Just for curiosity, let's say we have this message, the same variable name, multiple times inside a nested element. What will happen? The thing here is this message will reply the last one. The parent element of this paragraph tag is this div, right? And it is going to take and output this message, not this one or this one. Let's save and see. It is going to output this message in here. Also inside the X text, you can do any type of JavaScript things like calculation, concatenation, like that. I am just going to show this to you by an example here. So let's just use the previous example, and let's say we want to output these two messages together. How we can do that? Well, we can just concatenate it like by using a plus, and let's say we want to output the message3, and let's save. It is going to output the message first, which is this one, Alpine JS is very cool, then message3, which is Alpine JS is awesome. If you want to put a space between this, we can also do that. We can use another concatenation to just put an empty string. Let's save, and now we can see it, right? We can put our own text in here, and this is going to output it like this. We can also do simple calculations inside the X text as well. Let's say we want a div, and inside it let's use a paragraph tag and use a X text. Now in this case the X text won't work because this is not an Alpine component, right? So let's just put a simple calculation like 3 plus 3. It should output 6, but nothing is happening, right? Because this is not Alpine component. So we can declare it as a Alpine component by using X data. Now we don't need to add any things in here like variables, methods, or anything. So we are just going to keep this empty. So we can put empty strings like this, or actually we don't need to do that. If we save it, it is going to output the value of 3 plus 3. Also, if you just remove everything except the X data only, it is also going to work. So the X data can be empty too. It will still be considered as an Alpine component. So this is still an Alpine component. So we are going to talk more about the X data and X text in the later videos, but these are the basics about the X data and the X text. So see you in the next video.